Your friend just snapped their ankle on a trail deep inside Yellowstone National Park. You pull out your phone. No service. 2 words that used to mean you were completely on your own. You are miles from the nearest road, no ranger station nearby, no Wi-Fi, nothing. But if you are carrying a Huawei Mate 70 right now, you tap a button, your message shoots 550 kilometers straight up into space, bounces off a satellite moving at 27,000 kilometers per hour, and rescue teams are moving toward you within hours. No bulky antenna, no special gear, just your phone. That is not a concept. That is not a roadmap. That is already happening right now. In November 2024, Huawei launched the Mate 70 series, and buried inside that launch was something that quietly broke the rules of what a smartphone is supposed to do. Engineers at Apple and Qualcomm had argued for years that cramming real satellite communication into a regular phone was not realistic. The physics were against it. The power requirements were too high. The antenna problem seemed completely unsolvable. Huawei solved it anyway. What they built is not a stripped-down emergency feature. It is full two-way satellite communication, voice calls, text messages, picture messages, everything you would expect from a normal call, except your signal is bouncing off a satellite in orbit. The connection locks in 9 seconds. The call delay is just 0.7 seconds, which is honestly faster than plenty of international calls you have made on a normal network. And you do not have to stand in a field pointing your phone at the sky. The Mate 70 introduced satellite paging, meaning the phone quietly monitors for incoming satellite messages in the background. Someone sends you a message while you are off-grid, you get the alert. You are not missing anything. Now compare that to what Apple built. Their emergency SOS via satellite launched in 2022 with the iPhone 14. It works in 18 countries including the United States, Canada, Australia, and most of Europe. It has saved lives, and that part is genuinely worth saying. But the feature only works for emergencies. You cannot call a friend. You cannot text someone to say you are running late. You cannot send a photo. Apple's system walks you through a set of predefined questions, compresses your answers, and routes them through relay centers who then contact 911 on your behalf. It works within its lane. Huawei built an entirely different lane with no restrictions on when or how you use it. The money side of this story is where things get genuinely uncomfortable. Verizon spent $45 billion just on 5G spectrum licenses. AT&T put in another $23 billion in infrastructure upgrade. Add it all up across carriers, and the United States has poured over $100 billion into 5G networks that still leave massive rural gap. Huawei's satellite constellation, which covers the entire planet, reportedly cost around $8 billion to deploy. One satellite covers an area the size of Texas. The whole constellation blankets the globe. America spent more than $100 billion for spotty coverage. China spent $8 billion for everywhere. That math should make every traditional telecom executive lose sleep. In January 2025, Pentagon officials held emergency meetings about how Chinese satellite networks could complicate American military communications. The U.S. Space Force is working on a response, but internal assessments put them at least 5 years behind what Huawei already has running. Then in March 2025, devastating floods tore through Southeast Asia. Cell towers went underwater, power lines went down, entire communication grids collapsed. Rescue teams used Mate 70 phones to coordinate evacuations, direct relief supplies, and guide helicopter rescues. Western solutions were earthbound. Huawei's technology was saving lives from orbit. The developing world noticed immediately. In December 2024, telecommunications ministers from 7 African nations flew to Beijing for closed-door meetings with Huawei executives. Nigeria alone needs 120,000 additional cell towers to achieve full coverage, a $40 billion investment that would take decades. Or they could adopt Huawei's satellite technology and cover the entire nation from space for a fraction of that cost. In February 2025, Kenya announced a partnership with Huawei to provide nationwide satellite coverage instead of building traditional networks. The estimated savings? Over $12 billion. A dozen other African nations are now considering the same move. These countries are not catching up to the West anymore. They are skipping past it entirely. Now let us be straight about the limitations because this matters. The Mate 70 is currently focused on the Chinese market. You cannot buy this phone in the United States or Europe and expect satellite features to work right now. Each country must individually approve satellite services. Data speeds over satellite are almost certainly slower than 5G, though Huawei has not released specific numbers.
Picture this. You're deep in Yellowstone, miles from any cell tower. Your hiking partner falls and breaks their ankle badly. You pull out your phone and see those two words that mean you're completely screwed. No service. But wait. If you're holding a Huawei Mate 70, you just tap a button, and within 9 seconds you're connected to a satellite 550 kilometers above your head. Emergency services get your message, and help is coming. This isn't some concept phone or science fiction. This is real, it's happening right now, and it just made every cell tower on Earth look like ancient history. Let me tell you what Huawei actually built here, because when they unveiled this in November 2024, engineers at Apple and Qualcomm literally thought it was impossible. The Mate 70 connects directly to China's Tiantong satellite network without any extra equipment. No bulky antenna, no separate device, just your regular phone. Once connected, the delay is only 0.7 seconds, which is actually faster than most international phone calls. You can make voice calls, send text messages, even transmit photos. Compare that to Apple's emergency SOS feature that launched back in 2022. Apple's system only works in 18 countries. You can only send pre-formatted emergency texts. No voice calls, no photos, and it's strictly for life-threatening situations. Huawei's solution works everywhere on Earth, all the time, for anything you want. Here's where this gets absolutely wild. The technology inside this phone includes a revolutionary power amplifier chip that boosts your tiny smartphone signal strong enough to reach satellites, moving at 27,000 kilometers per hour. They build an antenna system that tracks these satellites in real time, maintaining rock-solid connections even as they're zipping across the sky. The phone monitors for incoming satellite messages automatically through something called satellite paging, so you get alerts even when you're not actively connected. China Telecom's 2024 Device Insight Report ranked the Mate 70 Pro Plus and the foldable Mate X6 with 5-star ratings specifically for their satellite capabilities. These aren't marketing claims. They're working in real-world conditions right now. Now let's talk about why this is absolutely terrifying for traditional telecom companies. Verizon spent $45 billion just on 5G spectrum licenses. AT&T poured another $23 billion into infrastructure upgrades. Together, American carriers have invested over $100 billion into traditional networks that cover maybe 30% of the country properly. Meanwhile, Huawei's entire satellite constellation reportedly cost around $8 billion to deploy, and one satellite can cover an area the size of Texas. Do that math. China achieved global coverage for less than what America spent on partial 5G rollout in major cities. The entire business model of telecommunications just got demolished. The real-world impact is already happening. In March 2025, when devastating floods hit Southeast Asia and cellular towers were underwater, rescue teams used Mate 70 phones to coordinate evacuations, direct relief supplies, and guide helicopter rescues. Reuters correspondents successfully sent high-resolution photos through the Mate 70's satellite connection from the middle of the Gobi Desert. Maritime shipping companies report that crews can now maintain constant contact with their families throughout Pacific crossings. This technology is saving lives while Western solutions are still stuck on the drawing board. Here's where the geopolitics gets serious. In January 2025, Pentagon officials held emergency sessions because they realized American military communications could be outflanked by Chinese satellite networks. The U.S. Space Force is racing to catch up, but their internal assessments say they're at least 5 years behind China's capabilities. 5 years in technology might as well be a century. Apple has reportedly reassigned hundreds of engineers to their satellite communications division. Google fast-tracked successors to their failed Project Loon, but they're all playing catch-up to a system that's already operational and battle-tested. The developing world is where this really changes everything. In December 2024, telecommunications ministers from 7 African nations flew to Beijing for closed-door meetings with Huawei executives. Nigeria alone needs 120,000 additional cell towers to achieve full coverage, which would cost $40 billion and take decades to build. Or they could just adopt Huawei's satellite technology and cover their entire nation from space for a fraction of that cost. In February 2025, Kenya announced they're partnering with Huawei to provide nationwide satellite coverage instead of building traditional cellular networks. The estimated savings? Over $12 billion in infrastructure costs. A dozen other African nations are now considering similar moves. But let's be honest about the context here. When the United States blacklisted Huawei back in 2019 and cut them off from Google, American chips, and suppliers, analysts called it a death sentence. No more Android, no more Play Store, no more YouTube or Gmail. Everyone thought Huawei was finished. Instead, they built their own Kirin 9020 chip, created Harmony OS, which now supports over 15,000 applications, launched 15 satellites into orbit, and built a massive ground station network spanning 3,000 kilometers. The sanctions didn't stop them. The sanctions accelerated their transformation into something the West can't control or shut down. Now here's the part nobody wants to admit. Traditional telecom stocks plunged when this news broke because investors realized their massive infrastructure investments could become worthless overnight. Chinese semiconductor companies like SMIC, which produces the advanced chips powering these devices, attracted record foreign investment despite ongoing U.S. restrictions. The future of global communications isn't being built in Silicon Valley anymore. It's orbiting 550 kilometers above your head right now, and every tech company on Earth is scrambling to figure out what just happened.
NVIDIA is on the verge of reshaping the world of artificial intelligence with its latest breakthroughs in AI chip technology. The company, already a leader in GPU computing, has unveiled new AI chips, including the Blackwell and Rubin series, that promise to revolutionize AI performance and redefine the boundaries of machine learning. But what does this mean for the industry, for consumers, and for the global tech landscape? Today we break it down. At the heart of NVIDIA's innovation is unprecedented processing power. These new chips are designed to handle extremely large AI models, including next-generation language models, autonomous vehicle systems, and real-time data analytics with unmatched speed. Industry reports suggest that the Blackwell chips, for instance, offer up to 10 times the performance of previous generations for large-scale AI training workload. This means models that once took days to train can now be completed in hours, dramatically accelerating the pace of AI development. What sets NVIDIA apart is not just raw power but also specialized AI architecture. Unlike conventional GPUs, these chips are optimized for tensor operations, the mathematical backbone of deep learning. Combined with high-bandwidth memory and advanced interconnect technologies, the Blackwell and Rubin chips allow AI models to process vast amounts of data simultaneously, reducing latency and improving efficiency. For enterprises and research institutions, this is a game-changer. They can now train complex AI models at scale, opening doors to innovations in medicine, finance, robotics, and more. NVIDIA's approach also reflects a broader trend in the AI hardware market: the integration of hardware and software ecosystems. The company's CUDA platform and AI software stack are fully compatible with these new chips, enabling seamless deployment of AI models. By controlling both the hardware and software environments, NVIDIA ensures that its chips deliver maximum efficiency and performance. This synergy is particularly critical as AI models grow in size and complexity, demanding precise coordination between processing units and software framework. But what does this mean for the industry as a whole? The introduction of these AI chips creates a significant competitive advantage for NVIDIA. Companies leveraging these chips can deploy AI-powered solutions faster, more efficiently, and at scale. Competitors like AMD and Intel are racing to close the gap, but NVIDIA's early lead in AI-optimized hardware gives it a dominant position in the market. This dominance is particularly important as AI adoption accelerates across sectors, from cloud computing and autonomous vehicles to personalized medicine and smart infrastructure. Another important factor is energy efficiency. AI computation has historically consumed massive amounts of power, raising costs and environmental concerns. NVIDIA's new chips incorporate energy-saving technologies, improving performance per watt and making large-scale AI more sustainable. This has implications not only for operational costs but also for global efforts to reduce the carbon footprint of data centers. Companies that adopt NVIDIA's energy-efficient chips can scale AI operations while keeping sustainability goals in mind. From a global perspective, NVIDIA's breakthroughs also highlight the geopolitical importance of AI hardware. As AI becomes central to defense, national security, and technological leadership, control over high-performance AI chips is increasingly strategic. Countries and corporations that secure early access to these technologies can accelerate innovation and maintain a competitive edge. NVIDIA's new chips are not just tools for faster computation, they are instruments of influence in the rapidly evolving AI landscape. For consumers, the impact might be indirect but profound. AI-powered products, from smarter personal assistants and recommendation systems to autonomous vehicles and advanced healthcare diagnostics, will become faster, more accurate, and more responsive thanks to these chips. Innovations that once seemed futuristic may enter everyday life sooner than expected. For instance, generative AI applications, real-time language translation, and adaptive robotics could all see dramatic improvements in speed and capability. Investors are taking note as well. NVIDIA's advancements in AI hardware have reinforced its position as a tech market leader. Analysts suggest that the company's early investment in AI-optimized architecture and deep integration of software and hardware has created a moat that will be difficult for competitors to overcome. As AI adoption grows, NVIDIA stands to capture a significant share of enterprise, cloud, and consumer AI markets, translating technological leadership into financial performance. Looking ahead, the implications of NVIDIA's breakthroughs extend beyond the next product cycle. These chips set a new standard for AI performance, pushing the industry to innovate faster and more aggressively. They also create opportunities for startups and research institutions to tackle problems that were previously computationally infeasible. In fields like climate modeling, drug discovery, and autonomous navigation, access to faster AI computation could accelerate breakthroughs that have real-world societal impact. In conclusion, NVIDIA's Blackwell and Rubin AI chips represent more than incremental hardware improvements. They are transformative innovations that will shape the future of artificial intelligence. By combining unmatched processing power, specialized AI architecture, energy efficiency, and seamless software integration, NVIDIA has positioned itself at the forefront of the AI revolution. The company's breakthroughs have implications for industry leaders, startups, governments, researchers, and consumers alike, setting the stage for a future where AI can operate faster, smarter, and at unprecedented scale. As we move deeper into this AI-driven era, one thing is clear. The chips behind these advancements are not just components, they are catalysts for change. NVIDIA has not only raised the bar for AI hardware, It has redefined what is possible, challenging the entire industry to innovate faster, think bigger, and dream bolder. The AI revolution is accelerating, and with these new chips, NVIDIA is leading the charge.
China continues to dominate critical industries, despite continued efforts by the US, from a breakthrough in chip-making technology to its stronghold on the rare earths market. The West is really struggling to catch up with China's critical might. Take a look at this next report for more.
China has announced a significant advancement in its semiconductor technology with the development of a new laser-based immersion lithography machine. This new equipment achieves a resolution of 65 nanometers, a notable improvement from the previous 90 nanometers. The resolution of lithography machines is crucial for chip making as it determines how finely integrated circuits can be printed silicon wafers. Current leading technology from ASML has a resolution of around 8 nanometers. Despite these advancements, Chinese companies are still working to close the gap with global leaders like ASML, especially given the US sanctions that have restricted access to advanced semiconductor equipment.
Imagine a single technological breakthrough so powerful that it shakes the entire global semiconductor industry. In early 2025, Chinese scientists unveiled a new EUV lithography system, a machine capable of producing advanced microchips without relying on ASML, the Dutch giant long considered untouchable in this field. The result? ASML is now facing a crisis that could redefine the global chip landscape. What China just achieved isn't just incremental, it's a game changer. Today we break down how this development happened, why ASML is struggling, and what it means for the future of semiconductors and global technology. For decades, the global semiconductor industry has relied heavily on ASML, whose EUV systems are essential for manufacturing the most advanced chip. Companies like TSMC, Intel, and Samsung have built entire product lines around ASML's technology. Western governments have long considered this supply chain a strategic advantage. China, however, has been quietly preparing for the day when it could no longer depend on foreign suppliers. Starting as early as 2022, Chinese research institutes, backed by billions in state funding, began developing homegrown EUV technology. Tens of thousands of engineers from Huawei, SMIC, and other major firms were mobilized into confidential labs across Shanghai and Shenzhen. The goal was clear: full semiconductor self-sufficiency. In March 2025, a little-known company called SiCar announced a major breakthrough. They had built a fully operational domestic EUV lithography system capable of achieving sub-nanometer patterns on wafers, technology previously thought impossible without ASML's equipment. This wasn't just a prototype. SiCar demonstrated real-world chip production, complete with electron microscope imaging of successfully processed wafers. Independent experts confirmed the results, leaving engineers in the West stunned. Suddenly, China could produce advanced chips like 7 nanometers and beyond entirely with domestic tools, bypassing ASML, TSMC, and other Western suppliers. The ramifications were instant and massive. ASML saw its service centers in China empty out. Thousands of employees were reassigned or laid off. TSMC and Western chip manufacturers faced disruption in supply chains, causing stock price drops and production delays. Meanwhile, Chinese tech companies immediately benefited. Huawei released the Mate 60 Pro using fully domestic 7 nanometers processors, proving that ASML and Western tech were no longer indispensable. Investors around the world began redirecting capital toward Chinese semiconductor firms, realizing the balance of power in chip manufacturing was shifting. China's strategy didn't stop at technology. They implemented export controls on critical rare earth elements, essential for advanced chip. This move affected Germany, Japan, the United States, and other high-tech nations that relied on Chinese materials for their own production. At the same time, the country ramped up massive domestic investments. New plants, advanced research labs, and accelerated engineering programs in top universities. The strategy was comprehensive. Control the materials, control the technology, control the future. Western nations scrambled. The US and EU proposed new partnerships and supply chain diversification plans, while investors weighed the risks of continued dependence on Asia. ESML's dominance rested on two pillars: proprietary EUV technology and global reliance. Now, both pillars are under threat. Domestic Chinese EUV machines reduce dependency on ASML. Strategic export controls limit ESML's ability to operate fully in the Chinese market. Rising competition from local Chinese firms accelerates innovation domestically. Even if ESML continues to supply Europe, the US, and other allies, its position as the indispensable global leader is under unprecedented pressure. This breakthrough has far-reaching consequences. Supply chains must be redesigned, and Western manufacturers must rethink production strategies. China gains geopolitical leverage in technology negotiations. Investors are moving capital toward Chinese semiconductor firms, and competition forces everyone to innovate faster or risk obsolescence. The era where ESML held uncontested influence may be coming to an end. The race for semiconductor supremacy has entered a new, high-stakes phase. One thing is clear: the global semiconductor landscape will never be the same. China's new EUV launch demonstrates the power of long-term planning, massive investment, and relentless engineering talent. If you want to stay ahead of these developments and understand how they will reshape the tech world, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. The future is being rewritten today, and the next chapter is just beginning. China's new EUV tech leaves ASML stunned. Global chip dominance is shifting fast.
The Dutch government has taken control of Nexperia, a chip maker based in the Netherlands, to prevent key technology from being transferred to its parent company in China. It's the first time the Netherlands has invoked the Goods Availability Act, citing economic security concerns. The move allows the country's economy minister to block company decisions and suspend executives, while ensuring chip production continues in Europe. Nexperia's Chinese parent company Lingtech slammed the move as politically driven. The decision comes as tensions between the EU and China rise over access to advanced technology and critical raw materials.
Imagine this: a single letter sent from the Netherlands triggers a global technological earthquake. That's exactly what happened with Nexperia, and this isn't just a business dispute. It's the opening move in a silent technological war against China. On October 26th, Nexperia announced it was suspending shipments to its Dongguan factory in China, claiming payment delays. But just days later, the truth came out. It was the Dutch headquarters that actually owed more than 1 billion yuan to its Chinese subsidiary. What looked like a simple financial issue suddenly became a political and economic power struggle. Behind this maneuver was the direct intervention of the Dutch government. At the end of September, the Ministry of Economic Affairs revived an old 1952 law, the Goods Supply Act, to take temporary control of Nexperia. Officially, this was to protect Europe's industrial security. In reality, it was a strategic move to slow China's technological rise. Since being acquired by Winji Technology in 2019, Nexperia had regained stability and strong growth. But now, European control over the headquarters threatens to paralyze Chinese production lines. The Dongguan plant alone represents nearly 70% of the world's packaging and testing capacity. Cutting its supply chain doesn't just weaken China, it shakes the entire global semiconductor ecosystem. It's a bold strategy, but one that might backfire on Europe itself. Nexperia's clients, global giants in automotive and tech, depend on these chips for